Hello and welcome to another episode of the DTF Podcast here on the Field of 68 Media Network. My name is Rob Doster. I have Terrence Oglesby with me. I have John Fanta here with me, and we have the first weekend of real conference play to get into, guys. There were 139 games on Saturday. I counted it. I watched every single one. I looked at every single box score. Nobody is more prepared for this podcast than I am. We had another fun day on Sunday. T.O. we did After Dark last night. Fanta, you on After Dark on Saturday night. We have a lot to get to. We got to talk about the SEC. We got to talk about huge weeks for Arizona, North Carolina, Louisville, and Indiana. And I have a hot take, Fanta, about Michigan and Illinois. I want to bounce off of you. Before we get into all that, guys, I'm going to open the floor to you, Fanta. You first. Your single biggest takeaway from the weekend of college basketball was?
Well, that Kentucky just continues to be fun, even when the calendar turns to 2025. I mean, 106 points. My single biggest takeaway was the amount of offense that we saw this past week. I mean, we have teams now regularly scoring 100 points. Kentucky did it. Florida did it in a loss. Wisconsin did it against Iowa, albeit. Illinois, that was a huge takeaway. You know, that really started the weekend. Illinois still, to me, is the biggest winner of the last week. They are in my top 10 today. Yes, they are in my top 10. The Illini, I don't care if you think it's a hot take, but it also partially has to do with after the top 8 for me, I have an open door from like 9 to even 17, 18. I think there's a tier, but I don't think that there is an otherworldly team that's there that belongs, that has more precedence than another. You know, just look at UConn yesterday and look at others who struggle with teams. Look at Oregon. Oregon now, you know, they beat Maryland, but what Illinois did to Oregon still to me was one of the most impressive performances I've seen. I mean, that was incredible what they did. But it's, you know what? It really is that the SEC just flipped the pages throughout the schedule. I mean, Tuesday night, a casual Tuesday, number 1 Tennessee is down at Florida. Mississippi State and Vanderbilt, who are both 13-1, are playing each other. We're going to watch because both teams are 13-1, and Vandy is making a case for themselves in year 1 of the Mark Byington era to get a bid, which is absolutely crazy. But look, that's an amazing start to the season. So those are my takeaways. Also, Terrence Oglesby, that Cooper Flag is still a super freak, and Hubert Davis should be saying his prayers because, man, Carolina escaped South Bend.
I think it just says a Hubert Davis. I don't know if he's Catholic or not, but he did the Irish dirty is what happened. So like that's one thing. And he should be counting his prayers because for a Princeton transfer to, at the end of a game, foul on a 4-point play to lose the game, I would have never seen it coming. And Micah, he's been given some grace to be able to rebuild a program the right way. And when I say the right way, it's quote unquote the right way because there's no right way anymore. There's no wrong way anymore. So that all being said, like he's been able to build with some younger guards and try to place some guys around him. So Notre Dame's going to be a tough out for anybody. And then North Carolina was able to sneak one. So that's huge for them. The biggest win of the weekend was a non-loss in the ACC, and that had to happen with North Carolina. I think the biggest takeaway, you have to score in today's college basketball if you're going to win. Like we say all that. Tennessee just continues rolling, and they're beating teams by 24 points when they're only scoring 76. And it just continues to happen. Like Tennessee is that good. I think that's a big takeaway. And then I was able to, I'm telling you guys, I was bullish on them at the beginning of the season. Louisville is a real shot to make the NCAA tournament and finish in the top 3 or 4 of the ACC. Like they're starting to click. Traore's back in the lineup. Chucky Hepburn's playing as well as any point guard in college basketball right now. He is playing as well as any point guard in college basketball. I'm including Braden Smith, who's been fantastic. I'm including a lot of these other guys. He's been that good, and he is putting his name in the conversation for all ACC first team for sure. And then beyond that, I don't know. I don't know if the league's going to have enough recognition to get some national awards. But, like, he has been awesome over the last month or so for them to figure it out. But I feel like, guys, like – Tennessee has held Western Carolina to 36 points. I know it's Western Carolina. Southern Conference ain't bad, but like 36 points. And they just the highest anybody scored against them this year was 70, and that was in a game where Tennessee scored 96. They guard everybody. So I love the high octane offenses. How's that going to go against Kentucky? How's it going to go against Florida? How's it going to go against these teams that are going to put up triple digits consistently? That's I can't wait to watch those games.
Yeah, I'm with you on Tennessee, and that's a perfect segue into kind of where I want to start with the weekend in the SEC. We had 3 matchups between ranked teams. Kentucky, Florida was probably the best game of the day. I think Alabama might have made the biggest statement of the day, but Tennessee, last remaining undefeated team in the country. Tio, I'll start with you on this. I don't know if I necessarily – we knew Tennessee was going to be good. I didn't expect them to be back to being this good with what they lost. I thought they lost too many culture guys, and I thought they lost too much offense with Dalton Connect, and I didn't see how they could get to the point where they were back to being in the conversation as the best team in college basketball, which, you know, they're number 1 on the polls, they're number 4 on KenPom, number 1 defense in America. Chaz Lanier has been awesome. I didn't necessarily see this coming. Credit to Rick Barnes, man. He's got a roll.
Huge credit to Rick Barnes, man. He's been awesome. What, John?
I said in the preseason on this show, I will take my victory lap on this one. That
we love victory laps here on the DTF.
They were not going anywhere. On our SEC preview, I said, man, I have a hard time believing that Tennessee is 4th best in any conference. And in the SEC, now look, they could be 4th best, and that'd be fine this year. I mean, the 4th best team is still top 6 or 7 in the country. But damn, guys, I mean, they're the best. They're 1 or 2. I would put them 2 behind Auburn, but they're 1 or 2, man. I mean, this is Jeff Goodman and I talked about this on Saturday, T.O., and then I'll give it to you. Like, Rick has reinvented himself late in his career, and how he's doing it, and the portal's helped Rick Barnes. You know, it really – think about this. A lot of the old guard is left. He is 70. We don't ever talk about him in retirement.
He'd be one of those that just kind of snuck up on you and did it out of nowhere. He would. He would be that guy.
You're not going to let that go, but keep going.
He's going to be one of those that just kind of sneaks up on you and just out of nowhere it just goes. I had Tennessee 3rd behind Alabama and Kentucky to start the year. I don't feel bad about that at all. The only one I feel bad about, to be honest with you, is I picked Auburn 6. That was ridiculous. I missed on that one big time. But I think to rehash on what I've been saying pretty much all season, like Jordan Gainey's playing better. You know, last season he was kind of finding his way. I think the added weight he put on whenever he transferred from USC Upstate, he was a skinny kid that knew how to get to the line, but I thought he got pushed around a little bit last year. And then also, like, Chaz Lanier, the way he plays, it's very conducive to having other guys come with him. You know, I remember 2 years ago when Julian Phillips was on the roster, he would stand in the corner and we would wait for Vescovy and Ziegler to try to create something out of nothing. Last year, they had Dalton Connect, who could create on every single play, but it's kind of a result of, hey, man, I'm going to pound the air out of the ball. This year, their best player, Chaz Lanier, offensively, has been letting the basketball go. And he plays everything inside 2 dribbles. So the other guys get to massage the ball a little bit, and that actually jumps your game into some rhythm. And Jordan Gainey's very much a rhythm player. So, you know, here's the thing. They're defending at such a high level. It's the best defense in college basketball. I don't know what the metrics say, but in my opinion, like, there's not many that are close. Say the line, T.O. Say the line. What's that? Which one?
It looks like it hurts to play Tennessee.
Looks like it hurts. It looks like it hurts to play Tennessee. If they get, you know, Igor Milicic to shoot 30%, 35% from 3, dude, like, I don't know what you do. And keep in mind, guys, they've been pretty injury. They've been dealing with a lot of injuries of their own. So, like, they get full strength, and then there's even more energy behind that defense. Shoe buddy.
Yeah, it's really impressive, man. The way that Ziegler and Meshack can just, like, dog the hell out of every ball handler, right? And Chaz Lanier is let me make sure I got this right. He has taken almost 9 threes a game. He's shooting 47% from three on almost 9 threes a game. And if you look at the numbers against the best competition that he's played, the at Louisville, the Baylor on the neutral game, the Illinois game at Illinois, and then Arkansas on Saturday, he's shooting 55% from three in those 4 games while taking 8 a game. Like he doesn't miss. And it's very different than the way that Dalton connected it. And I think it works. To your point, Fana, I think it's really impressive the way that Rick was able to find guys that fit into what he wants and fit into the culture in the portal. That's not the easiest thing to do. Lanier, Milicic, Akpara, even to a point, Darnell Stone, Dubar, who's kind of they've gotten the it took him a little while to figure out, like, you got to play some defense if you're going to be at Tennessee, but he's kind of figured out you got to play some defense if you're going to be at Tennessee, and he's been a weapon off the bench for him. I want both of you guys. Tio, I'll go to you first on this one because, Fanny, you kind of talked about it on Saturday night. Are you worried? Like, where do you stand on Arkansas and Cal at this point? Like, I think we all see that the talent is there, but I don't know, man. Like, you score 52 points. You know what? Let me ask you this. You coached, you played. How weird is it that he did not have a shoot around for a Saturday 1 o'clock tip? That's pretty standard, right?
He should have had one, apparently.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, a shoot around ain't changing those fortunes.
Yeah, exactly. It's a great point. I agree.
Shoot around ain't changing that game.
Yeah.
It's a noon. It's a noon game. A lot of teams wouldn't do a shoot around. You get up about 7:45, 8 o'clock. You get those guys in there. You walk through some stuff. You have breakfast. You get to the gym a little bit early, and then you yank their heart rate up around 10:30. Get ready to play. Let them relax for a second, but you got to get those bodies moving. But like for me, I would need to get up early and move, do some stretches. I would have to jump my heart rate about 160 just to like start the engines, get some fluid going. But like, dude, there wasn't changing that. You're going to get your ass handed to you no matter what. At Tennessee?
Yep.
Come on, man.
Yep. All right, let's talk about Kentucky and Florida. Game of the weekend. One of the best games of the season. One of the best shot-making performances I can remember in a college basketball game, between what Kobe Brea was able to do and what Elijah Martin and Walter Clayton were able to do. I don't think that there was a loser there. I know that Florida leaves with an L, Fanta, but both of those teams are awesome. They're so much fun to watch. Like, sign me up for a 7-game series between those two teams, and I think you're going to break television records. That was a lot of fun to watch that basketball game. Both those teams can make a Final Four. I'm convinced of it. Yeah,
they both can. And Florida, Walter Clayton Jr. should be in the National Player of the Year mix. He is not the front runner. He's not number 2, but he's certainly in line to be a first-team All-American if he continues to play this way. He's a candidate. You know, as we get down to that first team, when you get to the 4th, 5th slots, and then you get to the first 2 slots, the second team, I think there's a lot of debate for how that's going to look. But look, Florida is an offensive juggernaut. And it's because they could play through Walter Clayton, and they could play through Elijah Martin. I mean, Elijah Martin has this microwave ability, and to be able to even be in the game on a day where Kentucky's shooting the basketball that well, and Kobe Brea is a computer from beyond the arc. You know, they didn't even get a great game from Will Richard. They didn't. He was 4 of 8 from the floor. He didn't hit a 3. Alex Condon, you know, he didn't have a particularly great day, but I think that Florida team is certainly capable, and I will call it now. The last unbeaten falls Tuesday night. Florida is going to take down Tennessee in Gainesville. Not because Tennessee is bad at all. It's just because when these teams of this caliber get these opponents inside their home building this year, it's going to be very hard for you as the visitor to win. And so that Florida team, I mean, to say that Florida is the 4th best team in the SEC or the 5th best team in the SEC is absolutely the greatest testament to how good the SEC is.
Absolutely. You know what's weird about the league this year? T.O.? It is very clearly the best conference in college basketball, right? And it's very clearly like I think you can make the argument that there might be the 4 best teams in college basketball in the SEC. I don't think I'm quite there, but there's an argument to be made that the 4 best teams in college basketball are all in the SEC. Who's the best pro? You look at the top teams in that league, it's not like they're loaded with NBA draft guys. You look at the guys that are going to be all conference right now for coming out of that league. It's Janai Broom, upperclassman, probably going to get drafted because of the year he's having, but it's not like a surefire lottery pick thing. Chaz Lanier, 5th-year guy. Zakai Ziegler, probably not an NBA guy. Mark Sears, back because he's not an NBA guy. Walter Clayton. You look at some of the guys up and down Kentucky's roster. Yeah, like there's a lot of pros, but they're not on the teams that are winning. Like, I think that right there is a testament to what college basketball is in 2025, the top of the SEC.
Yeah, it really is. That's kind of where we're at. And I thought I brought this up yesterday. Like, do you distribute the funds, or do you pay all these high talented guys if you have a limited allotment, like Rutgers, for example? Do you pay those top 2 players a ton of money hoping they can carry you through, or do you disperse that money out through 8 people? Go ahead.
On the pro front, I will say this. LeBaron Fineland is creating a case for him to be taken in the lottery, late lottery, but he is in that mix right now, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But to go back to the point, like, it's how do you distribute your funds? And it's a lot of older players. Older players are winning right now. And with that news that came out that they might add a 5th year for everybody, blanket a 5th year, please don't do that. My God, please don't do that. This is crazy. Stop. Now, older guys win. And as a result, the SEC, who's been very willing to dive deep into the pockets, they've been able to create a lot of depth and a lot of really talented pieces. So that's kind of the state of college hoops. Like, older wins. It doesn't have to be this standout older. But I've said this for years, or for 2 years. I think next season the power is going to go back to the freshmen a little bit, and that's if the 5th year doesn't come into play. So if they decide to extend this 5 years for college, which is ridiculous, you can graduate in 3 now because you have to go to summer school. Like, why would you add a 5th year? That's just stupid. But long story short, I'm just interested to see how it progresses and if the power goes back to the freshmen, because right now the power's with the old guys.
Yeah, I hate that idea.
It's ridiculous. Like, guys, like, I understand what you were doing. You messed up to begin with this COVID stuff. Like, you messed up. This was a mess up. And then now you're trying to open everything up. I got 3 years of eligibility left. I can play until I turn 30. Hey, I turned 37 in March. I can go till I'm 40. I'll collect $100,000 in NIL at whatever Big South school will have me. I'm ready to go.
It just doesn't make any sense. Like,
No.
4 years. The college experience is for 4 years. I do not support a 5-year experience for everybody. I don't.
The only thing that I'll say, and I understand the arguments on both sides. Like, I don't really have a huge dog in the fight, but what I will say is that I would argue the college basketball product has been significantly better the last 3 years since guys were allowed to stay for a 5th year. Now, some of that is also a byproduct of NIL keeping the borderline NBA players around.
It has more to do with that than it does with the 5th year players.
Yeah. So I'll be curious to see like how that kind of plays out. But I think the product itself is so much more watchable and so much more palatable. Now, I get like I said, I get that there's probably a significant portion of that is NIL keeping guys that are would be like a borderline 2-way from leaving, right? Like, if you're an Exhibit 10 gets what, $50,000 guaranteed, right? Well, you can make 10 times that if you're a senior that wants to stay in college this year. So if you can match a 2-way, you might as well stay in college and see if you can improve your draft stock. So I get it. I don't have a dog in the fight, but I understand why they would be. The product is just better, man. Like, it's easier to watch. It just is. I was a 5-year college guy. I had a COVID year before COVID years existed.
Not intentionally.
So what? Look, it's not the worst thing in the world. Some people need the extra year. Okay. Some of us get distracted in college. Some of us are
no, but we're talking about Division I, where kids they stay all summer, Rob. They stay all summer. They're taking classes. You're knocking out at least 12 to 15 credit hours every summer. Dude, you don't need 5 years. You don't need 5 years. Stop it.
All right. So we asked this question last night. Okay. And I want your answer on this, Fana. You can only pick one of these 2 teams, and you have to bet the mortgage on one of these 2 teams to have a better season, whatever it ends up being. Better position in the SEC, better run in the tournament, however you want to phrase it. You have to bet your entire mortgage on one of these 2 teams. Alabama or Kentucky. Where do you stand right now?
It's Alabama because of how they played Saturday night and because of the fact that they defended. And I trust a team that made it all the way to the Final Four last year to get back there again, especially if that version of them shows up. One of the bigger things that we talked about on our New Year's resolution show was that Alabama brought in Cliff Amore for a reason. Start to use him. Just because it's not sexy doesn't mean you don't have to use him. They got him active early and often on Saturday night against Oklahoma, and it caused problems. LeBaron Philon has turned into a really key piece to this whole equation. Mark Sears is a beast. Grant Nelson is a really good player. And Nate Oates has proven that he can win in the NCAA tournament. So when I look at the Crimson Tide and I see the sheer depth of options, that team defensively took time last year to finally figure it out. They're starting to now. Remember, Chris Youngblood, it takes time to work your way back from an injury. He still hasn't even given us the best of Chris Youngblood. They've got depth like Kentucky, but they've got the experience and the edge, and they have an All-American. Kentucky's got a lot of great players, but if we were to do a draft between the two teams, you're telling me you're not taking Mark Sears before everybody else? Come on now. Let's get real. Come on. Alabama's got the best player of the two teams.
Yeah, but he's also going into the best defensive player at his position in college basketball with Lamont Butler. Like, I'm just
head-to-head.
Huh?
They're not playing each other head-to-head.
Oh, well, I'm looking at the date when they do play each other head-to-head, and that's January 18th in Rupp, which is going to be awesome. I'm looking at it head-to-head.
Kentucky will win that game, potentially, and my argument still won't change.
Yeah. I think they can both make a Final Four.
Well, that wasn't the question.
Yeah, that wasn't the question, T.O. Come on,
I have to pick one or the other. I would say I think
that too. But
I think Kentucky, and the reason being is because they clean up the defensive glass. They might be able to hold off Alabama. Just for the sake of argument. Two great teams. Just for the sake of argument, Kentucky. And I think that they have the pieces around the perimeter that can guard. I think they have a 5-man that can really protect the rim in Amari Williams. And I honestly think I'm shocked at how well Lamont Butler's been playing. Shocked, especially offensively. We know what he was defensively. I don't know what kind of light switch was flipped. I don't know what happened, but he has been incredible. I would go Kentucky because Alabama, they shoot a lot of threes. They don't necessarily shoot a ton of great percentage. And we talked about this last night, John, on After Dark. Like, they get 38% of their offense of their misses. 38% of their misses. Good for 14th in the country, Alabama. Kentucky's going to take care of the defensive glass. They're really good on the defensive glass. So that's what's going to be the key to that game when they play head-to-head. That would be my argument. If I had to pick one right now, I would probably lean more Kentucky because I just love the pieces.
Yeah, it's a tough one, right? Like, I think that Kentucky is a little bit more of a finished product, and as weird as this sounds, I think Alabama is something that has proven to be a little bit better defensively so far. We talked about this last night, T.O., and I'm gonna reiterate this stat. Alabama shoots 50% of their field goal attempts from three. They shoot 31.6% from three, good for 250th in the country. And that number is significantly lower once you factor out Latrell Wrightsell shooting 40 whatever percent and him being done for the year. Mark Sears shoots 33% from three. Grant Nelson, 29%. LeBaron Philon, 28%. Darian Reed, 28%. Aiden Sherrill, 16% from three. Jaron Stevenson is 9 for 43 on the season from beyond the arc. Chris Youngblood is still shooting just 24%. I struggle between saying, look, if they're going to keep shooting that many threes, like Nate has to see something in practice to make him believe, like, okay, just get him up, shoot him up, we'll sleep in the streets, right? But at the same time, it's got to course correct at some point, right? Or is that just something where you spread it out, you get enough up, you have enough guys that are going to go get offensive rebounds, and you just kind of figure it out because there's nobody at the rim to stop you? I don't know. I'm torn on how I feel on it.
Like last night, like I would be really intrigued to see what percentage of possessions they score on as opposed to what their 3-point shooting percentage is.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, I think that could also be a big thing, because if they're getting 38% of their offense of their misses, like, and they're number one in the country in 2-point field goal percentage at 63%, they're scoring on a lot of those possessions because their offensive rebound and they're dunking it right away. So, like, I'm curious to see like what that number would be.
How about the end of their schedule? You ready for this? Starting the day after Valentine's Day, the last 7 games for Alabama. This is how it goes: Auburn at home, at Missouri, Kentucky at home, Mississippi State at home, at Tennessee, Florida at home, at Auburn. Good luck,
Murder's
man.
row.
Good luck. I feel like every team is going to have like just some part of their schedule that goes absolutely bonkers like that.
Yep.
So it's the SEC, man. It's going to be so much fun this year. Every night there's going to be a great game in that conference. We got to talk about some of the ACC teams that got huge wins. We got to talk about Arizona, who had maybe the best week of anybody in college basketball. And Fan, I want to pick your brain a little bit about Indiana and kind of how that's gone. We'll get into all that here coming up after this break. If you haven't heard by now, we have partnered with BetMGM for the season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code FIELD. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Go download the BetMGM app and use the code. All right, T.O., we're going to go to you first on this one. North Carolina gets a win at Notre Dame. Elliot Cadeau, a huge win. Louisville gets Kadir Traore back. Abubakar Traore, they call him Kadir. Gets a win at home against UNC by 13, and then goes on the road to Virginia in a game that you called and wins by 20. Who had the best week out of anybody in the ACC?
Louisville did, because they beat North Carolina at home in kind of a statement to get the Yum Center back going. And then to go to Virginia, I don't care who the coach is of Virginia. It's still the same system. It's still tough. They beat them by 20. And I think Kadir Traore, what he was able to do, injecting some energy. And the defensive versatility, guys, is just awesome. He was matched up against Elijah Saunders when Elijah Saunders was in the game. And then when Saunders was out, he was a point of pickup against the opposing team's point guard. So, like, you want to talk about some defensive versatility, what he's able to do, just bringing energy. And then I just 2-0. Chucky Hepburn's playing as well as any point guard in college basketball right now. And I would have to pick Louisville for team of the week in that league, because they had a really nice kind of a statement week, if you will, about how this is going to go for the rest of the conference play. Their next two guys, Clemson at home, at Pitt. They play Pitt one more time on the road. You want to talk about your opportunities, where are they at for the NCAA tournament? This next 2 games. This is the most important week for Louisville for the rest of this season.
Make or break week. It really is.
It's a make or break week for the Cardinals.
Mm-hmm. Fandom?
Well, when you look at this game, I mean, first off, if you're Notre Dame, that is just a gut punch. I mean, you're up by 3 with 10 seconds to go in the game. That is you can't do what they did. You foul on a 3. First off, no, cannot happen. Nor alone if it goes in. I mean, that was a disaster situation. Carolina, like, Ian Jackson has gotten a lot better, and as the year's gone on, just evolving in season. He is a stud. He is a stud. Ian Jackson is a stud. Seth Trimble being out hurts Carolina a ton, because Seth, earlier in the season, he was having as good of a season that you're going to find. So,
hey, Fana, let me ask you this. We asked Tyler and T.O. this last night. Would you put Ian Jackson? Would you put Seth Trimble back in the starting lineup when he gets healthy? They're calling it an upper body injury. They haven't been very specific about what it is or the timetable for his return. But would you put him in the starting lineup and drop Ian Jackson at this point? Would you start the 4 guards? Like, what would you do if you're Hubert Davis?
Knowing what Ian's doing, I wouldn't take him out of there, because I think he's taking on a role where they could play through him as much as they can, and Seth could be really good off the bench for this team. Now he should be finishing games, and he should still be playing a lot, but sometimes for the team dynamic, it's for the best. So I'll tell you what, guys. I think that for Carolina, sometimes you got to just escape to move on from that. But the fact is, when you look at their metrics, right, this is a team that has one quadrant one win. There's not a load of opportunities in the ACC. And there's a whole heck of a lot more opportunities to lose a Q2 or Q3 game than there are to garner a quad one win. Upcoming schedule, tomorrow night, they get SMU at home. SMU coming off a beating that they took at home to Duke. They're not going to be happy about that. I predict that will be a ball game. And SMU's capable. I mean, they're a bubbly team, but they're capable with Boopy Miller and Chuck Harris to be in the game and to have a chance. You go to NC State. You should win that game, knowing where NC State is.
Rivalry game, though, man. Rivalry games are always tough.
It's a rivalry game. The crowd will be wild. Those fans are crazy. Then you get Cal and Stanford at home before you go to Wake Forest, and that would be a big game. The thing about Carolina is, like, again, when you show up and you know that rebounding is a big area of question and defensively you're not particularly great, that's where you're susceptible to losing to anybody. And so they are in South Bend, like we found a way. You're going to have to live life on the edge here, because you take a quad 3 loss in this league and you look at the lack of Q1 material. And if it's a team not named North Carolina, we're not really talking about them when it pertains to NCAA tournaments. So you got to keep a lot in mind here. They're still in a decent spot, but they really need to figure some things out. And it is, Terrence, you know this because you played. It's hard to figure things out in January.
Yeah, you are what you are at that point. I don't know that we've talked about North Carolina. I don't want to bash them anymore. Like, they are what they are. You're going to have to find a way to gang rebound with guards, and sometimes it's just not going to matter. Like that game against Louisville, just didn't matter what they had. They were just going to lose that game because they just didn't have the size to match up. So,
yeah,
it's tough.
The Florida one is one that stands out to me. Like, if you watch the end of that, there's 2 huge offensive rebounds that Florida gets, where North Carolina had position and had a box out, and it was
just didn't matter.
6-3 Seth Trimble was
same thing against Louisville when Louisville just got a switch and just threw it over their head. Like it was almost demoralizing. Like, you're just watching it happen. Like, they were the most simple things. Force a switch, just throw it over their head. It was crazy.
Yep. All I'll say for North Carolina, and it kind of goes for Louisville too, as long as they take care of business against the teams that they are supposed to beat throughout the rest of the ACC season, right? Don't have a dumb slip up like at Boston College or anything like that. I think both of those teams will be dancing. I feel.
Well, I mean, they both be dancing if they go undefeated the rest of the season.
I'm saying like, you lose at Pitt, okay. You get beat by Duke, okay.
You just have to have some cushion. You got to have some cushion, and Carolina has no cushion.
I think they have more than people give them credit for. They beat Dayton on a neutral. They beat UCLA on a neutral. Those are 2 good wins, and they don't have there's no anchor.
There's no bad loss. I hear you. Yeah. That's going to be the argument.
Yeah, and they have 2. I think that both of those wins are going to end up being quad 1 wins. So you'll have 2 quad 1 wins on your resume on Selection Sunday at minimum, and then look, they have a stretch there end of January, early February. At Pitt, at Duke, Pitt at home, at Clemson. You get 2 of those, and you're going to dance. You're going to be in the NCAA tournament as long as you get 2 of those and you win 14, 15 games in the ACC, and Carolina's going to dance. Not going to make a run, but they're going to dance. Indiana's back, baby. Indiana is back. You know what's wild about this? We talked about it last night, T.O. They had their 2 best performances of the season after Malik Renaud got injured and was forced to sit to the bench, and Mike Whitson was forced to play Mbako, Mackenzie Mtako, and Luke Goody together. They shot 42% from 3 on 50 attempts in the 2 games, Fana. Is that all it took? Is that like Woodson had to be forced to just play 2 big? Like, it was funny. We asked Tyler, like, do you think that they should stay with the 1 big lineup now that they're winning? Tyler's like, nah, more big guys, the better. Load them up. Get as many bigs in there as you can. I think Tyler would start 5 centers on a team if he could.
Tyler's awesome.
He would. Tyler Hansbrough would totally do it. We actually got a question earlier that is Tyler going to go back to playing with an extra year of eligibility? Is he going to leave Field of 68 to play again for North Carolina someday. So we'll check in with Tyler on that.
Look, he probably would start the
he
five for
probably
him right
could.
now. Yeah,
He
might
Yeah,
probably could.
good.
That dude is in I'm in decent shape. Tyler Hansborough is in phenomenal shape. Like I think he might actually be one that could.
I think we've told this story on the pod before, but in Houston at the Final Four, we were at, I forget the name of the bar that we were at that we did our shows from, but afterwards on the Sunday night before the national championship game, when UConn was playing San Diego State, like the bar that we were at had all of the games, right? I beat T.O. 7 times and pop a shot in a row because I'm a better shooter than Terrence Oglesby. They had like the trash can beer pong. They had all of this different stuff, right? One of the things they had was ping pong. And Tyler got out there and took all challengers on in ping pong. And by the end of it, like this dude is just like dripping sweat. Like he had just gone through a full workout. He had to get the towel, like he's rubbing down his face with a bar towel. And I'm like, dude, what are you going to do? He's like, oh yeah, I got to go to a dinner. So it was
didn't shower, just threw his overshirt right back over.
Yeah, like he was ready to go, man. That dude gets after it. He's one of
he's in incredible shape.
Yeah,
he could probably do it anyway.
You know,
go ahead,
you can't tell me that Mike Woodson doesn't see it. That he Philip says Oglesby to UW Green Bay. Now that's funny.
Ooh,
that's really funny.
Yeah.
They got a 23-year-old who looks like
I'd be faster than some of those players on that team. I went and watched it. They need to get. He needs to get. Hey, I'm not being mean here. If I went back and watched Gottlieb's team, like they need to get more athletic next year. There's not a whole lot of answers on that roster. They need to get more athletic.
That's why they bring in you, huh? That's why they're bringing.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Get faster at 37, ripe old age at 37 years old.
Right. Here's the thing: you can't tell me that Mike Woodson doesn't know what's out there. That with one big, his team's not better offensively because they are. It's a spacing thing. And it allows them to get more open looks and allows their best scoring talent to flourish. So one, Mackenzie Mbako has the space, has the openings to get open perimeter looks, to shoot threes, to drive the lane, to make productive things happen. And he goes for 20 in this game on 7 for 13, 4 of 8 from 3. But Oumar Ballo, that's the difference. It's not that Oumar is bad when you play two bigs. It's that he's better when he's the only one out there. It's less cloggy. It's less cluttered. It's less congested. He's able to be the man that you paid him to be. 25 and 13. He controlled the game ultimately against Niederhauser, who by the way was a steal of a portal get, Yannick Conan Niederhauser for Mike Rhodes, but he's not Oumar Ballo. And Luke Goody has helped this team as a locker room person, as a guy who knows what winning looks like. You know, he knows. He said it a couple times. We've seen him on the bench. Like you could tell his urgency because he was on an Elite Eight team under Brad Underwood that, he ultimately left, but he knows what the intensity needs to look like. Was it the perfect performance? No, it was not. They lost a 16-point lead with 10 minutes on the clock. But was it an encouraging step in the right direction here this last week for Indiana? Yes. They've won 8 of their last 9 games. They're 12-3 on the year. Miles Rice needs to shoot the ball better, 2 of 9 in this game. Like that's got to be better against the elite. But for Indiana, you got USC at home Wednesday. The Big Ten schedule makers, they gave you a fairly solid, like a very manageable schedule. You get USC Wednesday night at your place. You got to get that done. And then you go to Iowa. And if you're the team that you want to be,
you win them both.
You win both these games this week before you host Illinois at Assembly Hall next week. And if you've won both games this week, then all of a sudden, Illinois at Assembly Hall next week becomes a big game.
Yeah. You know who else had a huge week, T.O.? Arizona. You got on Monday night against TCU, you got the best performance we've seen out of Caleb Love, probably in his college career, 33, 7-7, not a single turnover to be found. Then you go on the road to Cincinnati. You almost blow an 18-point lead with 12 minutes left, but you didn't. You found a way to win. Arizona, kind of having a sneaky good last couple of weeks here. Now you go on the road. You get West Virginia in a matchup where we're not talking anywhere near enough about West Virginia. That's going to be an awesome game in Morgantown. You know it's going to be loud.
Javon Small, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good. No,
what do you make?
I'm not.
Arizona.
I think they're just okay. I don't know how to say that any better than that. And we talked about Caleb Love having a great game, followed that great game up with a 3 for 15 performance against Cincinnati. Now they still won, but I think Arizona's okay. I don't think Arizona's as good as what they've been in the past. They do offensive rebound really well, and that helps whenever you have Caleb Love on your team because McMahon's getting shots up. I think they're just okay. But they have rattled off 4 in a row, and I think the Cincinnati win at Cincinnati is a lot better than people are going to give it credit for right off the top of their dome. But we'll see how that continues.
I love that subtle shade right there. When you have Caleb Love, you need some really good offensive rebounders,
and they got them. They got them.
Yeah.
They're a better offensive rebounding team than Alabama right now. Think about that.
Mm-hmm. You know who's fun to watch is Henry Visar. I didn't realize how long and how athletic he tries to dunk everything. Fanta, every single thing around the rim, he's trying to dunk it.
Yeah, he's everywhere. And you're absolutely right. He does try to dunk anything that's in his sights. But I'll tell you what, the SEC is the best conference. The Big Ten, I don't think has a team in the national championship tier. But once again, to that league's credit, it's a deep league, and they're going to get double-digit bids on Selection Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
The Big Ten?
Oh yeah, they're going to get 10 bids.
Interesting. Let's talk about the Big Ten.
They are. I mean, they're going, like, we literally can go through it, but they are going to get 10 or 11 teams in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah,
deservedly or not deservedly so.
Well, the big question that I have with that, and I think you're probably right, but I think that says more about like the Big East. Like the Big East is a top two.
It's an 18-team league.
That's what I'm saying. Like there's
the volume. Yeah,
they're gonna stack up bids. Yeah, they're gonna stack up bids because they have a lot of teams in that conference. It's still weird to me to see like Oregon and Washington and UCLA playing like Big Ten conference games. Michigan playing USC on a Fox game on a Saturday night at 8:00 in a Big Ten showdown. Just that feels like that should be the Rose Bowl, right? Early January. It doesn't feel like that's a Big Ten.
No, you're right. It does. And it's not. I mean, the other thing is the Big 12's a little bit down compared to what it's been. The Big 12's a little bit down. I mean, Kansas State hasn't panned out. TCU's not what they've been in recent years.
Mm-hmm. BYU is not quite living up to where we thought they were going to be.
BYU's not living up to where we thought they would be. So that's the other thing. Like Colorado's not good. Utah,
Cincinnati 0-2 start. Like it kind of.
Cincinnati has pressure now. But that was a great win for Arizona. But Cincinnati, Wes Miller's 0-2, and his next 2 games are Baylor and Kansas. I mean, if Cincinnati's 0-4 in the Big 12, we got to start to talk here because this was supposed to be the year for UC. Yep. So, it's a numbers game. That's kind of why the NCAA tournament may need expansion to 72 or 76 because you're right. Like.
Boy, what a turn that took right there. What a turn that took right there. You guys were so against this. And I said, yeah, I'm for it.
I was.
Guys, no, stop. Don't.
I like it. I like it, Fanta. I like it, Fanta. Fanta, you cannot take this back.
I used to be. No.
Give me 76. Change the Twitter handle. Change the Twitter handle. 76.
Yeah, under the old format, I thought it should stay at 68. But the conference expansion is hurting our ability to find out about these teams in conference play. And dilution is going to happen here. I'm telling you, in late February, you're going to say it. You're going to be like, I don't know what to do with the bubble. But here's the thing. You take 36 at-larges. 36. In these 16 and 18-team leagues. Look at it this way. The SEC is going to have 12 teams in the NCAA tournament. Could have 13. All right? Let's just say for the sake of argument, they have 13 teams make the NCAA tournament. The Big Ten is going to have 10 teams. The Big 12 is going to have 8 teams, 7 at-larges. You have 36 at-larges. 30 of them are taken up by 3 leagues.
That's where we're at. That's where we're at in college basketball. It
So
is
when
what it
people
is,
are like,
man.
Field of
people are like,
76.
when people are like, well, the Big East, the A10, the Mountain West, that's great. It's a numbers game, guys. Like the Big East, I guess under that format, Big East should only get 4 teams because they should get three. They get half of the remaining at-larges, and then they're automatic. I mean, it is what it is. Like it's you can't. Yeah, you want 6 of your 11, but it's hard to do it when you've got. And this is an off year with the SEC. The SEC can't possibly have this good of a year. I didn't think it before. T.O. was in favor of it before. He was in favor of it before conference expansion.
There's enough good hoop right now.
I don't agree with that. I just think there's a lot of diluted hoop.
Okay, so beginning of, but hold on. Beginning of this pod, we talked about how it was better. And the product is better.
The product is better.
It is.
Okay.
So
why is it diluted hoop right now?
No, it's hard. It's going to be hard, guys. There's an SEC team that might go 7-11 or 6-12 in the league and get in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah,
I don't think that's going to happen.
Disgusting. That is disgusting.
I think the SEC is going to get fewer bids than I don't think they're going to get 12 because I think that there's going to end up it'll shake out where I think
if the top SEC only gets 10 bids, the Big Ten better not get double-digit bids.
But what I'm saying is I think that you're going to see like a lot of tiering in the because I think the top like 8 or 9 the SEC. There's a lot of good teams in that league, but I think the top of that league is so much better than the bottom. Like we saw it with Oklahoma, man. Oklahoma went undefeated in league play, and they go on the road to Alabama and get absolutely obliterated. They lost by 28. Speaking of the Big Ten, I want to ask you guys about the top of the Big Ten. Me and Theo talked about this a little bit last night, but I'm curious your opinion on it. I think that Michigan and Illinois are both. I think Illinois is a top 10 team. I think Michigan is like a top 10 to 15 team in America. I think both of them can make a Final Four. I think they're the 2 best teams in the Big Ten. But they also were in a spot where the 2 best wins that they have, both of them are Wisconsin, right? Unless you want to say at Oregon, which I don't know, whatever. But I don't know. Am I overreacting to some good performances here? Like, what do you make of Illinois? What do you make of Michigan? What do you make of the top of the Big Ten?
Yeah, I mean, Michigan is really, really good. And they're getting better too. Namari Burnett and Trey Donaldson keep picking up steam. So that backcourt's got options. Danny Wolf's a stud.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Danny Wolf is in Big Ten Player of the Year race. He is in that race. He's having that type of a season. They fell to Arkansas. They've had some late losses. Some heartbreaking losses to Arkansas, to Oklahoma. I mean, those 2 games by a combined 3 points, and to Wake Forest by 2. So they have 3 losses by a combined 5 points.
They were up by double digits in all 3 of those games in the second half too.
Yes,
that's the crazy part.
Xavier has had a bad year by their standards, and they're really struggling. I watched them at a different stage in November at the Fort Myers tip-off in the championship game. Michigan beat them by 25. They kicked the crap out of them. On Saturday night, they shot the shoot out of the ball. I mean, they hit 10 3-pointers, and Donaldson, Burnett, and Wolf just carried them to the finish line. They're good offensively, and they've got enough defensively between Vlad Golden and Danny Wolf to say, yes, they're dangerous. I mean, as we wake up today, they're 13th in KenPom, and they're top 25 in both offense and defense and playing a top 60 tempo in the country. But nobody's more talented in the Big Ten than Illinois. Illinois is the most talented team in this league.
Mm-hmm.
Brad Underwood's unlayered something new out of Kylan Boswell. Kasparas Yakachonis is a top 5 NBA draft pick right now. He's playing that well. He is an initiator. He playmakes, he creates, he's a shot maker. He is special. He's better than Yegor Demon. He's better than Asa Newell right now on the draft. And I take him before I took Trey Johnson, who I think is really good and going to be a top 6 or 7 pick. But I put Yakachonis just ahead. Yakachonis.
Those jumbo creators, man. If you're 6'6" and you can read the game and playing ball screens and like that's all the rage. It's why I think you called Tio. Did you call Danny Wolf a lottery pick last night?
Yeah, late lottery. He's old, so I would say late lottery.
So, the fact they followed up the win over Oregon and went to Washington, a lot of people be like, oh, John, Washington. No. When you win a game that big, you got to follow it up. And what was Washington doing? They were coming off a win over Maryland. I will say the Big Ten is going to learn that when it comes to those West trips, Washington is a really hard place to garner a win at. No matter how talented or not talented Washington is, they get fans. It's hard to go all the way out to Seattle. Eugene doesn't have the same atmosphere. UCLA doesn't have the same atmosphere. USC does not have the same atmosphere either. USC, it felt like some movie stars watching the game Saturday night at the game. It didn't feel like a raucous, crazy crowd. And Michigan alumni. So to be able to follow that up with the win over Washington, it's not easy to do. And I think Brad said about a month ago, T.O., he said, I got to get Trey White more opportunities. Trey White's capitalizing.
Yeah,
he really is.
It's good for Trey to play beside Yakashianis because he understands what he is. He's Trey White's there to score and to just manufacture some opportunities for him, make Illinois better. So that's all well and good. How long is that flight from Illinois to Washington?
It's like 4.5, 5 hours.
There's no way it's that freaking long.
You were getting destroyed for that last night. You said it takes 2 hours to get.
I said it takes 3. I said 2.5, 3 hours, which is what it should take. No, because I get from Atlanta to Salt Lake City in 4. That's what am I missing?
This is live podcasting right here. I just Googled Chicago to Seattle flight time, 4 hours and 45 minutes on a nonstop flight.
Okay, so that tells me this. They say 4 hours and 45 minutes. They're gonna take off. It's probably 4 hours. It's probably a 4-hour flight. 3.5, 4 hours. That's ridiculous. That's piloting malpractice from the middle of the country to the left corner. Drive straight there. What are you doing? Taking a scenic route? Ridiculous. That doesn't make any sense that I could get from Atlanta to Salt Lake in less than 4.
Right now? What are you talking about?
Yeah, ridiculous. Why are you so upset about this?
It's ridiculous. I just couldn't believe I was just piloting malpractice. Huh?
On flight time. You're actually going on a rant on the time of a flight.
Yeah, because everybody was like, it's not that big of a deal. It's the middle of the country and you're getting to the left corner of the country. Going from Stanford to Syracuse, a long trip. Like Illinois to Washington?
It's a long trip, man.
T.O., I'm with you.
This
is
that big a deal.
It takes
Rutgers
me 3.5
to Washington
hours.
is a big deal.
It takes me 3.5 hours to get to Texas from here. It should the Chicago to Washington should never take 4 hours for it. Piloting up, I'm with you, T.O. This is ridiculous.
That's what I'm saying.
Also,
what are we doing?
We got to talk to the people from United. We got to talk to the people that are flying these private jets. By the way, I don't know if you guys saw this, and we'll get back on track here in a second.
No, I don't want to get back on track. I want to talk about piloting. We're going
Stanford.
Yeah,
flying.
did you see this? They're taking a regional jet. Listen to this, Fanta. They're taking a regional plane from the left coast to the east coast. They have to stop twice on the way over because Stanford's trying to ball on a budget. Dude, if you're gonna embrace this conference thing, you can't do that to the kids, man. You can't, that's crazy. If you're all in on this move, you got to be able to get a plane that can go from coast to coast. That's crazy. It puts them at such a disadvantage. They're going to have to do it 5 times this year. That's stupid. I thought the people at Stanford were smart. I thought they were smart.
They flew home from Pittsburgh. They left at, I believe it was 12:45 a.m., right? I think Goodman posted this. I believe it was 12:45 a.m. They stopped twice, and they didn't land back in Palo Alto until almost 6 a.m. local time.
Local time, which means that's just
that's insane. What when I take a red eye.
That's 9 a.m. East Coast. It's just crazy.
When I take red eye, that's how the time works. When I take red eyes going the other direction, right? That's when it's 4 hours. That's 9 hours of travel. 9 hours of travel on a regional jet. It's not comfortable for. Imagine Max.
It's like an American Airlines jet where the seats are so tight and close together, where those 7-footers can't move. There's probably 2 seats on one side, 1 on the other. Those kids are and they got to stop 3 times. Dude, Stanford, listen to me. Kyle, I know you're a smart guy. Listen to me. Fly commercial. If they're going to do that shit to you, fly commercial and connect once.
Yes.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yep. No, I'm with you, man. It's
guys, I got to go. What else we doing? What we got?
No, I just the last thing I got, Michigan or Illinois. Who you got? You got to pick one of them, T.O. You got to bet your mortgage on one of those two teams to have a better season. Who you got?
Illinois. Just because I know what Underwood is capable of and how good he is. I love Michigan too. I've been on that bandwagon the entire year, but Illinois just because of Underwood, and that's not a shot against Dusty May. I'm just still kind of in wait and see mode with Dusty May.
I can't watch what I did in Eugene on Thursday night, what happened in that game, and say anyone but Illinois in the Big Ten. That was an absolute woodshedding. And I got to tell you, I'm now wondering about Oregon because that was eye-opening to say the least. Oregon's been a different team since they were told that they get $1 million if they win a game in Las Vegas. They haven't been the same team since they got some NIL money, T.O., for winning games. That performance was just domination. They played about as well as I've seen any team play. It was the second largest woodshedding I've seen next to Gonzaga Baylor this year, which was opening night, which Gonzaga was just unbelievable on that night. So look, it's going to be Illinois. Illinois is the most talented team in the Big Ten. Does it mean they will win it? No, it does not. No, it does not. But they are the most talented. That league race is going to be a lot of fun. Quietly, it's fun to talk. We just did a whole lot of talk on the Big Ten. And we didn't say Braden Smith's name once. And so I'm not ready to just totally discount where Purdue is and who they are and how much Smith covers up with them.
Yep. All right. Listen, we got to run. We've been here for an hour. Always appreciate you guys listening. Always appreciate you guys checking in. We'll be back again probably next Monday. We'll let you know the exact time on that. But for now, we appreciate you listening. For John Fanta, for Terrence Oglesby, my name is Rob Doster. We will see you next week. Now that the college basketball season is in full swing, you need to make sure that you have access to the best betting tool on the market, the Rhythm app. Spelled RITHMM, is a data-backed app that uses AI and analytics to identify inefficiencies in betting lines and the player prop market that will allow you, the user, to profit. You can create customized, analytics-driven betting models tailored to your personal preferences as a bettor. Users have access to up-to-the-second against-the-spread data. And if you're like me and you understand pictures better than numbers on a screen, Rhythm's internal trend analysis provides you with the kind of graphs that will allow you to evaluate past results and project future performance in a visual way. Every Division I college basketball team is included in the Rhythm's metrics. Free subscribers to the Field of 68 Daily will get 25% off for a Rhythm subscription. Use the QR code on the screen to sign up